Well, let's get started. My name is Mark Slavkin, and I serve as Director of Education at the Wallace Annenberg Center for the Performing Arts in Beverly Hills, California. For those of you who have not been to the Wallace, we are privileged to occupy a historic post office in Beverly Hills that the city invited us to reimagine as a center for the performing arts. And thanks to the generosity of all of our donors, we were able to make that happen and open in 2013 with two beautiful theaters in which we present theater and dance and music and film. In addition, we have a dedicated education wing on our campus with three beautiful classrooms and outdoor courtyard. And it's in those spaces that we have brought to life our mission that we call Grow at the Wallace. Born of the idea that all of us, regardless of our age or ability or past involvement with the arts, all of us have a right to grow in and through the arts. And today's program, called Beyond Words, is a great example of that. The older adults in this program, through an act of courage and bravery, have given themselves an opportunity to grow, to stretch themselves creatively in a variety of media that you'll hear about, but also to grow as people and to grow as part of a community. In this time of isolation where so many of us are stuck at home, programs like this really forge almost magical bonds of connection and community. So in addition to what skills or knowledge or experience they've gained from the class, they've also gained a sense of community, of peers, and a safe space to share their authentic selves and to share their stories that are often very intimate, sometimes difficult and painful, sometimes joyous, sometimes a mix of all of the above. But together they have been on this creative journey, and we're so excited to share part of their work today. So thank you for joining us from near and far to support and celebrate the terrific participants in this class. And all of this is really possible thanks to the leadership of my colleague, Deborah Pascaret. Deborah has both imagined the class, designed it, and does such a beautiful job leading the sessions every week and offering both her expertise, but also just the generosity of her spirit to invite all the participants on this exciting journey. So thank you, Deborah, for all that you do. And with that, let me turn it over to Deborah.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Deborah Pascaret, and as Mark mentioned, I am the Manager of Community Engagement at the Wallace. And a big part of my job now at the Wallace is to create and lead the older adults classes. And we have both stage stories and Beyond Words, and this particular class is called Beyond Words. The reason it's called Beyond Words is, yes, it's storytelling like the other class, but there's a little extra that goes with it, and that each week there's an assignment that not just is about telling the story, but it's also about really thinking about photos, images, a collage, music, different things that inform us artistically and jog our memories, make us just envelop the experience that we want to write about a little clearer. And so you'll see today that not only are you going to hear the stories, but you'll see an image that each of the artists has created, the storytellers has created, and you'll see that on the screen as they're doing their reading. So I'd like to introduce, first of all, I should say that at the end of the reading, we'll have a few minutes for questions and answers. And so I would love to hear from you, those of you that are listening. And I know that our readers will also love to have comments from you. So I want you to sit back, really take the time, give yourself the gift of listening to these incredible stories and let their words wash over you. With that, I'd like to introduce our first storyteller, Joyce.
Hi, my name is Joyce. The title of my story, Spring Events. Spring is my favorite season of the year. blossoming flowers and budding trees, announcing that spring has arrived in my hemisphere. These events begin in March with warmer and longer days ahead. I'll celebrate my 75th birthday in LA. Invitations to this event, inviting friends and family. We'll start at Pip's restaurant with live music, cool ambience, and a fantastic menu. The next day's event is special. They'll see my live performance of stage stories at Wallace in Beverly Hills. Spring's weather is unpredictable, from beautiful to scary suddenly. There are thunderstorms, tornadoes, and freaky snowstorms. I remember 1993, it snowed 13 inches in Birmingham. The spring of 2020, an event nobody expected. COVID-19 was declared a pandemic. Stay-at-home orders, canceling mine and other social events. Schools were closing, airlines were canceling flights. I've been in LA since January, scheduled to leave in April. Lockdown in the house with 4 children, ages 4 through 11. The confinement was challenging in just 2 days. I love them so much, but I changed my flight to leave 2 weeks earlier. When the schools announced possibly closing indefinitely, I changed my flight again. I had to stay at least for my birthday on the 18th. My suitcases were packed, ready to leave at a moment's notice in case Southwest canceled future flights. I celebrated 75, surrounded by my LA family. It was wonderful. And I left LA the very next day. I've been back several times since then, getting tested, the COVID-19 test, each time before and after. And now I'm fully vaccinated. Spring 2021, a week before my birthday, the weather was frightening. There were tornadoes at home in Birmingham. The only event I planned was to give Noble, my 16-year-old granddaughter, driving lessons. She also said she would treat me to lunch at any restaurant I chose. I arrived and said, "Are you ready to drive on the freeway?" She said, "I only had 3 lessons." Okay. Seated in the car, adjusting her seat, she also took off her shoes. She said she felt more comfortable driving in bare feet. I looked at those Uggs for a second. Don't leave them there, pass them to me. This is when the adventure began. We avoided the freeway. This 11-mile route has 2 lanes of winding roads, stop signs, left and right turns, curves, hills. Oh, back roads. Grabbing my door handle very discreetly, calmly saying, "Noble, you're a little too close to the edge. Try to focus not on the center line completely. Just feel the car swaying to the right. Drive at a comfortable speed, not too fast nor too slow." As we got closer to the restaurant, the traffic was heavier, and there were more lights. Be aware of the car in front, especially when they put on their brakes. After 45 minutes, I think, after 45 minutes, we finally arrived safe. Exhausted she was, but I said, Noble, you did great. FYI, I'm the one who almost had an accident on our way back. What an eventful 76th birthday. I felt like singing 76 trombones led the big parade, you know, from the Music Man. And you're in for a treat by our next storyteller. Alan?
Thanks, Joyce. Hi, my name is Alan, and in class I wrote about my first memory. But the trouble was that I kind of had two first memories, which I know is a bit of a chronological impossibility, but the debate over claiming one as the first true primal memory, the single kernel that becomes the Zen future trajectory of my whole life, the engine in this human train chugging off to oblivion, is that I don't want to base it on preference. See, the first is this weekday morning when I went to afternoon kindergarten half days, leaving the mornings home with my mom in our South Boston apartment, which was great because Batman is on the TV and mom is busy. And so Batman and I can spend the whole mornings fighting the Joker, the Riddler, and Catwoman. My Batmobile was this little blue foldable chair. It was almost the same color as the Batmobile. And I would fold it up and sit on to race off to Gotham City. But that particular morning, as I sit down on the flat blue steel, bam, bang, ock, the pain flashes onto my mind's screen like those fight words from the show. Intense pain, blood, bright red blood gushing everywhere. I had not folded the chair all the way. And so when I sat down, its hinge had snipped the top of my ring finger off, where I start lying on the rug right next to me. Suddenly rushing into the kitchen, mom is on the phone, the long coiled phone cable wrapped around her leg. She pushes me away. Mary, you just have to tell, just a minute, honey, just a minute. Mary, you just have to, oh my God, Mary, I gotta go, I gotta go. The bloody stump on my left ring finger glistens red like the Joker's face in the bright kitchen lights. Mom pulls me to the sink, the blood, the water, the screams. Oh God, oh God. A dish towel gets wrapped around my bloody hand. And outside in our VW Bug, which keeps stalling out, are more calls to God. But this time, mom adds the word please, please, please. Oh, please, star, please, dear God, please, please. Finally, the hospital, the glaring lights of an operating room. Strangers are all around me in masks. A man saying to a woman, we'll have to take some skin off his forearm. I'll need the sharpest knife we have. Bright lights in my face, more screams, more needles, more tears, cutting, stitching. And then finally, hugs. Mom and dad are hugging and kissing me. Their eyes are wet. Doctors explaining how he cut the skin off my forearm and stitched it to my finger. That scar on my forearm and my ugly brown cauliflower looking tip on my left ring finger have been with me my whole life. I dropped out of guitar lessons when my instructor moved my finger on the fretboard and saw my finger and squealed, ew. I spent so many first days in school sticking that hand deep in my pants pocket. And while the shame of how my finger looks has faded, the memories do not. But is it first? See, because around that same time when I either had 10 fingers or maybe 9.5, my grandfather would take me out in the backyard to pick red grapes from the vine. The sun was shining. My grandfather's voice calmly sharing stories of his childhood in the old country and those tiny red grapes. So what wins out? Injury, pain, and loss? Or love, sunshine, and those red grapes? I would like it to be the latter. but I wrote 5 times as much on the former. So for now, the debate rages on. And now I am so pleased to introduce my fellow classmate, Heather. Heather?
Thanks, Alan. Today I am reading The Genesis of a Freckle. The Genesis of a Freckle. If these freckles could talk. If these freckles could talk, they would tell you about their inception to summer. They started as the tiniest of dots, first naked to the eye, most likely the summer I was born. Just 7 short, impatient days before the summer equinox of 65. For me, the advent of summer was ushered in by the heavily scented, towering lilac bushes that lined our driveway in droves, followed next by the sweetly scented beds of abundant, delicate, tiny lily of the valley flowers, luscious, red, ripe strawberries, plump, succulent, shiny cherries, fuzzy skinned, juicy peaches, and beefy tomatoes were always plentiful in our home. A tiny whiff of those fragrant flowers and fruits release endorphins that can instantly return me to my youth and put a smile on my face. I think my father was an Aztec in a previous life, as he worshiped the sun. He faithfully indoctrinated me into his temple of summer. His deep, rich tan reminded me of dark brown sugar. He was so tan, he could have competed with George Hamilton in a tanning contest and won. He drove a glossy white Corvette convertible in Minnesota. And if that isn't a declaration to the love of summer, I don't know what is, because the winters were miserable in a convertible. My early childhood was about beaches, boats, and beer. My parents were known to keep a pony keg of beer for the hot, humid summers of the Midwest. And it's a wonder I never turned into an alcoholic, because they were very European about letting me help myself to beer if I desired it. It was the 60s, and there were not a lot of rules for parents on parenting back then. Though my parents were definitely not hippies, they liked the bohemian aesthetics and embraced the margins and borders of Emilio Pucci and Sonny and Cher. As soon as I was old enough to play outside semi-independently, you could easily find me jumping and running through sprinklers, clothing very optional, with my next door buddies, Sam, Max, and Kiki. We would suck and slurp on banana or root beer popsicles without a care in the world. I loved everything about summer. I even had a fondness for waking up in the middle of the night, my sweaty body, clothes peeled off of me, the sound of the portable fan whirring, and my wavy curled hair curled up by the dampness delightfully. I would take my pillow and flip it to the cold side for relief and drift back to sleep, excited that the next day of summer would bring me equal delight. The summers had many events to look forward to. First, June 13th, my birthday, always with angel food cake, fresh whipped cream, and the sweetest strawberries. Next was 4th of July, fireworks over Lake Calhoun with grilled hot dogs, buttery corn on the cob fresh from the farm, and salty potato chips. Then the Minneapolis Aquatennial Parade. Floats with pretty women waving at the crowd, funny clowns throwing confetti and handing out candy. But the most amusing of all was the spectacle of a rather large group of fully grown men donning and wearing ruby felted fez hats with large tassels blowing in the wind as they drove impossibly tiny motorized tricycles that were choreographed to crisscross around the parade route. The grand finale to summer was the Minnesota State Fair, the largest fair in the US, the kind of place that kids' dreams are made of. Oh, there was the food, the giant slide ride, and the exhibition halls, chock full of colorful silky ribbons awarded to animals, fine arts and crafts, intricate quilts, hand-sewn doll clothes, and beautifully decorated cakes. So much to marvel at. We would arrive early and stay late. Then I would pretend when we arrived home that I was asleep so my parents would carry me to bed. I would giggle and snicker as soon as they left the room and fall swiftly back to sleep, where my dreams would carry me back to my day at the fair, and I could still feel the effect of the rides. 10,000 Lakes was the nickname for my beloved state I spent much of my time growing up in. Minnesota provided a beautiful backdrop that bonded me with my father over his love of summer. It was truly the best gift he ever gave me. I will never forget our trips down to the beach, leather encased transistor radio and webbed aluminum folding chaise in hand, a walk on the water's edge with a bucket in hand to pick up the dead fish for fertilizer for those beautiful flower beds at our home. Kind of weird. Playing in the sand near my father while we would manage his deep, dark golden tan, as if he was tending to a barbecuing of a fine piece of meat. He would slather himself with copper tone oil that had that light scent of jasmine, lilac, lavender, and sweet rose. And he would maximize the rays of the sun with that oil. The transistor radio, our trusty beach companion, would belt out the sounds of summer. Marvin Gaye, Diana Ross, the Beatles, the Beach Boys, and one of my dad's favorites, Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. The thing that makes me love summer always sends me back to the best part of my childhood. And now I would like to introduce to you and welcome Jen to share her piece. Thank you.
Jen, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. I got, I was dancing to the music. My piece was based on a prompt called As a Child, I Dreamed of. And in a way, this was almost more an obsession than a dream. As a child, I dreamed of wearing blue blouses. Odd, I know. I was 5 and had one sister, 3 years older, who had red hair. Not the carrot-colored, freckled all over type, but the gorgeous copper auburn type. This was rare in my family of Italian brunettes. But I did have an aunt, my Aunt Mimi, who had the same red hair as my sister. Mimi came to visit my mother every Saturday and always gave me and my sister money to go to the corner store and buy ice cream and comic books. I got only $1, but my sister got $2 because, as she informed me, she was bigger and could eat more ice cream, and she was older and could read better, so she deserved more comic books. Obviously, my Aunt Mimi agreed. Mimi worked in a children's clothing factory and often got free samples. So she invariably showed up at least one Saturday a month with gifts of blouses for my sister and me. The blouses for my sister were always blue, light blue, dark blue, robin's egg blue, plaid, checkered, polka dotted. Occasionally, she might give my sister a green blouse, but never, ever a red one. You see, in those days, it was a fashion faux pas for a redhead to wear anything red, like a blouse or sweater. That color just ruined the effect of gorgeous copper red hair. Mimi, being a redhead herself, never wore red and certainly wasn't going to let my sister wear it. A red blouse was for a brunette, and that would be me. What about yellow or white or pink? I whined. No, Aunt Mimi said firmly, red was the only suitable color for me, and besides, it was a gift. Any more questions? After 4 or 5 of these monthly red blouses, I was sick of them. That red checkered one would look better as a tablecloth. The red stripes meant I was a referee for some sport. The red polka dots turned me into a fugitive circus clown. And there was no escaping wearing the blouses. My sister and I had to try them on right away so Mimi and my mother could ooh and ah over them. And there were way too many oohs and ahs for my sister in blue than for me in my just the right color for you red monstrosity. I begged for blue. I cried for blue, but I was always firmly rebuffed. Blue was for my redheaded sister, said my redheaded Aunt Mimi proudly as my redheaded sister smirked. And red was naturally for me. Besides, as my brunette mother said, thinking she was being helpful, I would get my sister's blue blouses when she outgrew them. I had never been so insulted in my short life. Secondhand clothes meant second-class child. Sadly, this outrage continued throughout my formative years, scarring me for life and giving me a deep-seated but secret aversion not only to red blouses, but to red-headed women as well. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce our next storyteller, Carolyn.
Thanks, Jen. Hi, I'm Carolyn. My prompt was I wish, and my piece is entitled Why Wish? People
Carol,
often say,
Carol, your camera's not on.
ooh, okay, 1 second.
You can go ahead and start over. Thanks.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, thanks, Jen. I'm Carolyn. My prompt was I wish, and my piece is entitled Why Wish? People often say, be careful what you wish for. I get that. I'm not really big on wishing. Wishes have their place, but I prefer dreams. My mom, Augustine, was raised in the deep South, Kosciuszko, Mississippi, same town as Oprah. Mom is a dreamer, one who sees things in dream states before they happen in real life. Some dreams can be interpreted immediately. Others require an indeterminate amount of time before they are revealed. Dream interpretation often comes from someone other than the dreamer to whom it was given. In my family, that's often my role. Coincidentally, I'm a sign language interpreter by occupation, something I wished to become. Inspired by the film The Miracle Worker, for years I lived with a woman, Kathy, who was born deaf and by age 10 was also profoundly blind. Couldn't hear, couldn't see, couldn't speak. Once I asked Kathy about her wishes and dreams. If you could wish to be blind or deaf, what's your choice? Blind, she said. Then I'd only miss things, but deaf, I miss people. Further, I inquired, do you like sleep? She signed, yes. When I sleep, sometimes I dream. That's when I can see again. Think about that. When you dream, you see. For me, dreams and wishes are different. Dreams are something we're given. over which we have no control, not implored, but rather imparted. As previously mentioned, my mom's a dreamer. Whenever she has a vivid dream involving me, it signifies something deep. She recounted one such dream she had when she was about age 60, whereupon the next day's awakening, she, an artist, was impelled to paint the vision onto canvas. She replicated the dreamscape in meticulous detail, depicting herself in a room, sterile, stark, in a hospital bed. Red flowers rested on nightstands. White curtains shrouded the bed. She donned a white cap and nightgown. I, also in white, knelt at her bedside. My arms were outstretched toward her, both hands cupped around the faltering flame of a candle she held. My interpretation? Rest easy. I won't let your light be extinguished. Fast forward more than 20 years later, surgeons prepped the 84-year-old for a quadruple bypass. As she drifted into twilight sleep, I knelt at her bedside, wearing white and whispering, "Remember your dream," holding the painting before her. It's been 16 years since that surgery, and to this day, at 99 years young, her light continues to burn bright. And that's far beyond my wildest wish. Thank you. Thank you for listening. And now I'm pleased to introduce my distinguished classmate, Arthur.
Thank you, Carolyn. My name is Arthur. The title of my piece is, "If it is important to you, it can be done." My 3 children were with me a few months after I began to recover from my brain injury. "This has been a bad year," I said to them. "I'm counting on the 3 of you to make next year a better year." "We will do what we can," they said. At the beginning of January, my son called me. "I wanted to discuss Jenny's and my wedding in Hawaii in July," he said. Jenny was from Hawaii. "I know. We just got plane and hotel reservations," I said. "We would like you to officiate the wedding." "I am honored that you're asking me, but I'm not a judge and can't officiate weddings." "I checked it out," Matt said, "and you can become a reverend for a day and do the wedding on that day." Even that I thought was pretty loosey-goosey for Hawaii. "I did not feel comfortable that I can do it," I said. "I hadn't appeared in court since before my accident. I don't want to screw this up," I told him. "But we have confidence in you," he said. That was more than I had in myself. "And we really want you to do it." So I had to do it. The moment that the plane landed in Hawaii was when the anxiety began. As the wedding day approached, it got worse and worse. My wife's story is that the night before, I was sitting on the couch in the hotel room, reviewing what I would say for the 500th time. I mumbled incoherent words and collapsed and fell asleep. Is it related to the brain injury, she thought? If he does not wake up in the morning, I will have to take him to the hospital. How will I tell my son? I woke up and said I was feeling fine. What happened, she asked. I wanted to get a good night's sleep, and the Ambien kicked in too soon. I don't remember it very clearly, but I made it through the ceremony. Guests asked me later, how many times had I officiated a wedding since it was so good. Someone asked me if I was available to officiate their wedding the following month. What I know for sure is that it must have been successful. They are still married. Being a reverend for a day was very stressful for me. Our next speaker, Veronica, has been a reverend for many years and is always in good spirits.
Thank you, Arthur, for that warm introduction. Thank you. My name is Reverend Veronica Martindale, and my story is entitled California Gardens Neighborhood. California Gardens Neighborhood was built and designed in the 1960s. This was an area set aside for middle-class African-American families. The neighborhood was surrounded with like-minded military servicemen and construction workers. My mother was the neighborhood president and took flowers to the neighbors to plant in their yards. The neighbors enjoyed when my mother would come to their homes with flowers and present a gift of beauty to their home. The married ladies took pride in their family as well as their American dream homes. This title, California Gardens, was befitting for the labor the wives put into making sure their homes reflected the sanctity of a beautiful garden. Flowers sprung forth to give regal colors. The yellow daffodil flowers reflected the rising of the sun and encouraged the soul to dance. The purple lavender set off a majestic yard that impressed all kings who gazed upon it. The daisies took your eyes in a spiraling circle of delight as you marveled on the petals and their consistent shapes. When I review the old photos of the beginning of my neighborhood, I knew that kings and queens resided there. However, as time passed and children grew in the neighborhood, drugs and gangs and selfishness was planted, and the flowers were replaced with seclusion. No longer were the flowers springing with hope outside people's homes. The houses were shut by gates and bars on the windows. The person next door is no longer called your neighbor, but the house next door. I know the transformation slowly grew like weeds creeping up to overtake the garden, gradually choking out the flowers and replacing them with dry, brittle thorns. I see where flowers can help the neighborhood regain its beauty and hope. I see where the neighborhood people could again connect through flowers. It will start as in the beginning with a caring soul taking flowers house to house until the flowers take root and the beauty spreads. Then again, the neighborhood will be called the California Garden. Thank you. And now, allow me to introduce our next storyteller, Linda.
Thank you, Veronica. Hi, I'm Linda, and my prompt is community. The name of my piece is You Can Count on Me, 1, 2, 3. It all began in a charming river town along the Delaware River, in a town called New Hope, located in Pennsylvania. I met Marie in a spin class, charging along imaginary straight open roads and climbing endless hills on our stationary bikes. A beautiful friendship started to bloom. Several years later, we had exciting news to share with each other. Linda, I'm moving to Philadelphia. It's time for me to be near my husband's healthcare team at Jefferson Hospital. There has been too many emergencies late at night, and I need to be closer. Oh, my heavens, Marie, I'm moving to Philadelphia. My husband is going to be doing consulting work with Comcast. We were delighted that we would be making a lifestyle change like this together. By the end of September 2016, we were both settled into our new apartment homes. We were filled with excitement decorating our new spaces. Of course, being extremely curious gals, we looked forward to getting out and exploring what this stimulating city has to offer. Marie suggested that we make a date twice a month on a Friday morning to delve into the nooks and crannies of Philadelphia. We were attending art shows, museums, stepping into history, and enjoying fine lunches at a variety of restaurants. Often, we had lunch at each other's apartments with our new friends. We would often exclaim how much we adored this city. Each outing was full of laughter and great adventures. We were the queens of Philadelphia. Self-appointed, of course. Early March, I was heading to Leesburg, Virginia for my daughter-in-law's surprise birthday event. I was feeling fatigued, but still had a wonderful evening. Upon returning to Philadelphia, I was having unexpected neck pain. I was advised to see my physician. Rattled by this news, I agreed to do just that. I was immediately admitted to the emergency room at Jefferson Hospital. After 4 days of testing, the C word was uttered by the oncologist on duty. Life changed on a dime. Marie, my husband, and my family sprang into action. Marie's encouraging visits pulled me forward in the fight. She made getting blood work a party. We were knitting during chemo, playing cards during radiation. Her support and love was never ending. She was my shining star. After all, we were the queens, and my crown was needing to be straightened. Sadness once again struck our world. Marie's husband was failing. When he passed, Marie had 3 memorial services to plan. Hand in hand, we planned them together and got her through the rough spots. Loss is never easy. 2 years later, and in the middle of this pandemic, we braved the snow and the cold, chilly winds to keep our walk dates, to stay connected to each other. I have learned the value of friendships, the value of family, and how very much we count on each other in our lives. My care team is here. My friends are here. Marie is here. My husband and I know this is our community. We are never, ever leaving. My heart is here in Philadelphia, my community. Thank you. It's with great pleasure I get to introduce you to Jane.
Thank you, Linda. That was so beautiful. My prompt was the first line of my piece. What I know for sure is that the longer the years peel away like a clear, clean onion skin, the less I know. I keep walking proudly with my head held high, pretending I know more. Now at 5 feet, 5 inches, shrinking closer to the ground, while my head seems further in the fog. My body complains a lot more too. Where are we going? Whispers my achy feet. How much longer can I carry you? Murmurs my tired legs. I don't know, but be patient, I say lovingly. You too shall pass. But the organ recitals continue. Then I wonder how many more people will I have to say goodbye to before they throw a going away party for me. Year 2020, vision was blurred and teardrops and uncertainty. And I've cheated death so many times that at once it's money back. What I know for sure is when I see hungry people living under the sky blue tarps, that my heart grows so heavy, I think I need a basket to carry it. I would like to serve it like a Valentine's cake to some and collect it back from the greedy ones in the tower that I have turned my back to. What I know for sure is now the sun will rise again, though like me, Mother Nature's hot flashes are growing more violent and unpredictable. She's been irritated at the arrogance and entitlement of the scrappy human beings misusing her wondrous resources. I try to show a somewhat angry Mother Nature the same love she gives us every day before she takes the sun back from her children. And what I know for sure is that authentic love has guided me through my life and has never let me down. When I feel so overwhelmed with gratitude for my life, my friends, my four-legged love machines, that is what I know for sure, love is my own private heaven.